I'm Kelsey Foremost, and this is Find Your Magic.
Find Your Magic is a series of conversations with entrepreneurs, creatives, experts, and friends that explores what it's really like to do what you love. We're talking about everything from business to the creative process to mental health and everything in between. So grab a cup of tea and join the conversation as we take a look behind the scenes of success at what it really takes to find your magic. Today, I'm talking to Niki Camacho, an LA-based blogger who shares attainable fashion, beauty, and lifestyle tips with a healthy sprinkling of pop culture and geekiness thrown in for good measure. She's a digital talent manager and a content creator herself. Please welcome Niki to Find Your Magic.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kelsey Foremost, and this is my friend Nicole Camacho.
Hello.
And this is another episode of Find Your Magic. She used to be a coworker of mine at a women's lifestyle site, and we connected immediately.
Yeah.
Not just
really
because
quick.
she's awesome, but because we're both huge nerds.
Yeah. Instant, like you can feel when someone is, you're like,
Yeah.
What house are you in?
Exactly. Are you a Ravenclaw?
I am.
Yeah, of course she's a Ravenclaw. She does so many things,
I
so
know.
I'm just gonna let her talk.
No, definitely. So right now, the interesting thing is I'm a talent manager. So I work with a lot of digital talent that's doing a lot of creative things. And the funny thing about that is I'm also then on the side turning around, the 9 to 5, and then I go to the 5 to 9 is the switch up. So way back when, right after college, I'd been in advertising a couple years, and I just it wasn't my thing. Like I could feel like I'm missing all this other part of me.
Yeah.
So I just started blogging, honestly, at work, and I realized how much I loved it.
Yeah.
And it essentially led me to go to fashion because I thought, this is what I'm writing about. Maybe I should move in this industry. I think what I didn't realize at the time is that the thing that I loved was the creating and the writing. So I was moving in the industry direction of what I was writing about as opposed to focusing on the actual content creation.
Yeah. I feel like that's an important point too, because no time is wasted, and the act of figuring out, like we don't automatically know that it's the writing that we love.
Yeah.
Right? And so you kind of have to explore all the different arenas of what you're doing to know what it is about that thing.
Yeah.
That's lighting the fire in your belly.
Yeah, exactly. Once I saw the opportunity at Makeful, I was like, I'm gonna just make a hard push.
Yeah.
I need to try. Like, I know that I'm doing this. I come home tired and I'm still like shooting on weekends and writing. I'm like, there's something in me that's not letting this go. So Makeful helped me realize 100% like creating, being a content creator makes me so happy.
Completely.
It's the only type of work, I can say this, with 100% certainty, that has never felt like work. Like, even when you're dragging through it and it's like a hard day, a long day, it's just not the same as like a long day in anything else.
Completely. I think that's such an important point too, is like, it's not that those days don't exist, because I feel like a lot of times people say like, oh, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. False. Do what you love and
False, guys. That's not true.
Do what you love and you're going to work harder at that because it's what you love and because it's your passion.
Yeah.
And you are still going to have those crazy long difficult days, and you are going to run into walls, except you're going to feel motivated to push through those times versus being at a job that isn't fulfilling, where you're just like, well, I don't care about this.
That's actually one of the great points in this book that I'm listening to, which is You're Not Lost, Maxie, McCoy. When you're looking kind of for your thing, so to speak, it's not about looking for the end goal you want, you're looking for your ideal process. So what are you okay doing day to day? Not what do you want your end goal to look like? How big do you want your office? What do you want your title to be? How much do you want to make? It's what are you okay with doing day after day after day?
I love that. Find your process.
Yes. It's,
Ooh,
I mean, for me, you feel it, because I always think about it of like the title that I'm after. I want to be blogger. I want to be this, but it's like, forget everything. Forget the titles. What do I want to do day to day?
There's this pressure, I think, to be able, as a creative especially, to be able to explain to other people what it is you do. If you go into a cocktail party and somebody asks you what you do and you say, oh, I'm in advertising, then immediately it's like, oh, great, you're in this box.
There's even that sense, I feel like, of identity in it.
Totally.
When you're like, again, like, I'm a dentist, like, I know what you're about, what you do, and there's that sense of you know who you are, where you fit in.
Completely.
And as a creative, like you're saying, it can be this really blurry identity of...
Very. Yeah. Even within creative work.
Yeah.
Like what you were saying, being a blogger in fashion was its own little box, right?
Yeah.
And then sort of finding your way into your own arena versus a box. So many metaphors.
Yeah. Lots of boxes. We need boxes. Boxes are great.
Boxes are great, but the process is what it's about.
Yeah. I feel like it was a turning point for me. I feel like the other kind of metaphor I've always heard in that arena is like, have you heard about, like the shit sandwich?
No, please.
So, essentially, the idea is that, like you're saying, everything will have its rough days. You'll have to eat a shit sandwich no matter what. The question is, what are you willing to eat the shit sandwich for? Especially starting out, you think, once you find your thing, it's just like happy, you do it, and
a magic wand will be made, and you'll have like this perfect picture of life, and everything will work.
So it's kind of like if you want to grow in the corporate space, are you willing to eat the shit sandwich of having to climb that ladder and do the things that help you internally versus are you willing to deal with the shit sandwich of websites going down, finding client, like everything has its own setup of things you have to deal with. Which one do you want?
And like no matter what, you are going to fail, and so what are you willing to fail at? I think that's a really helpful point too, is thinking of failure as part of the process and a completely inevitable thing. I think we spend a lot of time trying to protect ourselves from failure or try to project an image that says that we're not failing rather than embracing that failure and vulnerability and it not working sometimes is going to be part of whatever you do.
And I feel like you're able to grow and move on so much faster if you're willing to accept the failure. I think sometimes like holding on to it like tooth and nail, that you get stuck there because you're like, this is gonna work. Sometimes it just needs to be shifted slightly, but you can't make that shift until you're willing to be like, this didn't work.
Right.
I'm gonna do this now.
And it's internally as well as externally too, right? So like sometimes the failure can be something like websites going down, but then sometimes the shift is internal, like what you were saying, like knowing that certain things weren't necessarily fulfilling to you. And I want to go back to what you were saying about coming on to Makeful and kind of getting out of the fashion space, because that's when I met you. And by the way, Makeful is a, it's
like, what is this?
I was like, oh, people don't necessarily know. It's a DIY women's lifestyle site. So it's for other creative women who are kind of looking for ways to incorporate creativity into their everyday lives. Yeah. That's when I met you.
Yes.
And you were pivoting away from fashion at that point. And I'd love for you to just sort of describe what internally you decided was going to be your next direction.
Definitely in there, I even just want to call out the identity crisis of the shift. So I really wanted to kind of hone in on what made me me, and for myself that was really getting into the geeky realm, so to speak. I feel like I'm very, if I could sum it up, I'm like, here's the cool lane, and then I'm just like hey guys, I'm right next door, like doing things a little bit different. Like I'm still big on like fashion and beauty, but I'm just like, but can I look like Daenerys Targaryen? I have to say it felt so good internally to be like, I'm not trying to be anything, I'm just gonna show who I am versus trying to like project any type of version of myself. I think it was super exciting, really confusing at first, just like who am I, like what do I say, like I've been sharing this message of who I am for so long. How do I like reintroduce people to me?
It's important to acknowledge that it does feel like an identity crisis. And there can be that fear of, am I gonna lose followers? Are people gonna be like, what the heck is she doing? Like,
or like that fake, like, oh now I'm this, like, oh all of a sudden and it's just,
exactly.
Like people are multi-dimensional and they can share any part of themselves at any time, and I don't think you should feel guilty about shifting who you want to share, like within
which
yourself.
Part of yourself you want to share. It doesn't mean you're any less
anything else.
Of any other facet. It just means that you're feeling the most authentic, showing this particular side of yourself at this particular time.
I feel like it's also hard when that side that you want to share is different from what you're seeing maybe online, or it's different, like you feel like it's not up to par,
from the overall picture.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. This is one of my favorite things to talk about is comparisonitis.
Yeah.
Comparisonitis.
The disease that plagues all creators.
It's true.
Yeah.
Especially for online entrepreneurs, which I feel like is everyone at this point. Like everything is online. So we're all online entrepreneurs. There's so much useful information out there online, especially about being an entrepreneur online and how to do it correctly and how to get the followers or how to, I don't know, like how to hack the system which makes you constantly feel like you're doing something wrong if you don't fit into somebody else's box. Yeah. If you measure yourself up, and Instagram makes this really difficult of like, well, why does this person have 50,000 followers and I have 5?
Yeah.
Or why does this content work for this person but it doesn't work for me? It's important to like know your industry and know your niche, of course, but it's like the impossible dream to know your industry and not compare yourself.
Working with so much like digital talent.
Yeah, you have a very unique perspective on that.
Yeah, just getting to see kind of like, again, like what works for every individual. Success, getting to whatever success is for you is so specific to an individual person. And what I mean by that is like, I have creators who, again, they only shoot on their phone in a mirror, or like everything's grainy and they hit 1 million because that was for them the right path. And I think every person's path, again, is so unique to them. While someone could sit here and be like, do this, do this, do this, and that could be great advice. For you, maybe your path, you know, it could just be so different, which is, I think, the tricky part to accept of like.
And of course, nothing would be better to have the security of like, if you do these 5 steps, you will reach this goal.
Like, oh, good, it's gonna pay off. I'm just gonna do 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's not like going to law school or medical school where you're like, you put in this many years, you get the degree, and then you get the job, and you are a doctor, or you are a lawyer, or you are a dentist, and that's the end.
I feel like, and I just started to realize that having heard so many podcasts and read so many books, because I feel the stress of, again, like, I want to succeed in this space. Like, what are you know, everyone doing? Yeah. And just hearing everyone's story before they give like even the tips and advice of hearing how they did what they did. I'm like, no one got here the same way. And that's where I really started to feel better about like, this could be the right path. I just, you know, you won't know until the end, essentially, kind of.
Which brings it back to what you were saying earlier about the process being what
matters. Really, yeah.
What are you willing to eat this shit sandwich for? Because
you can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it, but also like you can't get to the same place as another person. Like that's their path. Mm-hmm. So you can't have somebody else's end goal be your end.
Yeah, because it made me feel so much better when I feel like I understood that concept, just because I was like, I'm doing things so different and I keep like failing and shifting. I'm like, is it just not gonna work? And it's kind of like it still could, because everyone's path is so
well, and it does, right? Like you have a very engaged, awesome community of like-minded people who are interacting with your stuff. Your channel is so engaging, your content on Instagram and on social media, everything is really engaging. But it also, the reason that it's so engaging is because it is authentic, and like the people who are engaging with it are very involved, and it's very meaningful. And that is the goal, right? Like that is the dream.
Thank you for thank you so much. I love that you said that, because I feel like it can help us shift kind of into the next talking point of me feel so all these wonderful things Kelsey just said, thank you. And then me, I feel like right now I still feel like I'm in such a space of feeling lost and confused about like, what value am I really bringing? Who am I serving in the right way? And I think it's just, I feel like it's almost like you draw the line of maybe how you perceive something when you see it on Instagram, and then the way that person can also feel behind the scenes.
To piggyback on that, you're so much farther along than you think you are. Like, I have to sometimes remember to have a gut check and be like, Kelsey, where were you 3 months ago? Where were you 6 months ago? Where were you a year ago? I was living off of savings, totally failing at everything, so alone, like dark. Dun dun dun.
There's a happy ending.
There's a happy ending because here I am a year later. Like, I've built this amazing business because of the amazing people that I've connected with online, and because I got, really clear about writing being the thing that fulfilled me in this moment, and helping other people feel heard has given me such purpose.
Yeah.
And now I have this business that completely supports me, but I still feel imposter syndrome every single day. I still feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not making enough money, or I don't have enough followers.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to look back.
You're like, oh wait, like, where was I?
Right.
Yeah.
Gratitude gut check.
I get it's that feeling, right? Because I feel like people see one thing on Instagram and then you just get like the real story behind it, and it's like, oh, like, you're like, oh. I feel like I always get surprised even when I just see like huge, fashion bloggers be like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And I'm like, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
2 million followers. I mean, you got to know something. Like, and it feels so real in that moment, and you feel not so disconnected, I feel like.
Exactly. And that's exactly why I wanted to talk and do this, because I think it's an element that we don't talk about often enough. It's a positive thing. It's not like it's gloom and doom, like you will fail and you're gonna eat the shit sandwich. Like, it's actually meant to be an incredibly supportive and like encouraging thing, because we're all in the same boat. Like, no other Instagrammer you're seeing online has some magic formula that protects them from pain and from failure. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, you don't get a pass on being human because you want to do anything. So I feel like at the end of the day, you go home, you still, wash your face, take a shower, and go to sleep like everyone else, regardless of your, follower count.
Yeah.
I think those are the biggest things. I think really the process, choosing what you want to do every day and kind of just honing in on that. I feel like that was just like, it's so weird to see that it was such a light bulb moment for me.
Yeah.
But I was always thinking end game. I want to be this. I want to, have this title, have this salary, have this whatever, and not even thinking about what does my day-to-day look like.
One more thing I want to touch on, because you shared with me that you and your husband, who is also a content creator and he's great, they are taking some time to travel this year.
Yes.
And I think that that's another thing, is just briefly to talk about balance and how, especially when you're creating your own thing, that 9 to 5 and then that 5 to 9, it can be easy to sort of lose sight of those other things being important too. And I think it's really important to reset your creativity by investing time in committing to things like travel or, hobbies or things that have nothing to do with your business. Mm-hmm. When we were talking earlier, you said like, just because one area of your life doesn't feel like it's on the track that you want it, doesn't mean that the other things in your life aren't going right.
I have, of course, a Harry Potter quote.
Yes!
It makes me think of the quote of, don't get so caught up in your dreams that you forget to live. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it kind of applies here, because sometimes, no matter what we're working on, whether it's going good or not, you still have so many other elements of your life, and your life is still happening and passing by. Yeah. Whether you're struggling in your business, whether you're successful, I think you still need to, again, be human, feed your soul in other ways. I don't think you just have to feed it with, your business and your creative venture. I think your soul needs lots of other things. It needs connection. It needs to grow, like personal growth aside from business. And I think making the time or making the decision to do that was so exciting. We're traveling to Thailand, Ireland, all over. It almost felt strange to even make that decision and buy this tickets, feeling also right now kind of lost in what I'm doing creatively. So it kind of felt like a mixed bag of feelings, and that's really what made me feel like, you know what, you can have that mixed bag over here, but I can still live my life in these other areas and go and
like you said, it all feeds your soul, which in turn feeds your creativity.
Yeah.
So, Nicole, I'm so happy you came and did this.
Thank you for